In the Norwegian woods, myths abound about female creatures who roam the forest called hulders. A man enamored by curiosity and driven by his desire to know more has captured a hulder and performed medical experiments on her. A cassette tape is playing and a man can be heard helping a girl calm down. A roar cuts through the audio, taking the man by surprise. But the girl's agitation dies down. He praises her for abiding, and the tape cuts short. Meanwhile, at some house, a severely decomposing body is being zipped inside a body bag, all while a guy named Leo scribbles notes. Another man, Elvis, is sensitive to the sight of blood and body parts, causing him to throw up inside a bucket. Leo keeps himself busy with work, scrubbing the floor clean of blood and disinfecting it. He turns to look at Elvis and asks for the bucket. Woozy from throwing up, Elvis hands the bucket to Leo. This doesn't bother Leo as he continues cleaning up. While Elvis looks for a bottle of Clorox, the phone rings and Elvis brings it close to Leo's ear. As Leo speaks about their cleaning service, Elvis glances at the pool of blood. Unfortunately, he regrets the decision and drops the phone to throw up again. After the call ends, Leo gives Elvis his much-needed break. Years ago, in a distant wintry forest, the same man from the cassette found a baby abandoned in the snowy woods, wondering if he should have just left the infant alone. For another work assignment, Leo and Elvis travel to a lakeside house. Elvis stands by the water, breathing and swaying with the wind. From the house, Leo comes and stands beside Elvis. He reports to Elvis that the old man, the house owner, has been dead for some time, and that the wild animals have scattered his body around. Einar, Leo's colleague, has found about half of the body, leaving the rest for the two of them to find. Additionally, Leo also informs Elvis that they have to cut up the floor as the body has flowed out. In the silence, he expresses his thanks because Elvis stepped in for trolls, but Elvis thinks it's not a big deal as he had nothing else to do. Then, they get to work. Leo finds bones while Elvis throws stuff out of the cabin. A call comes from a woman named Katrina for Elvis, and Leo notices the kid on his wallpaper. Leo congratulates him and goes on to ask questions about the child, Elvis's niece named Elena, who's named after him, but he appears dismissive of his questions. Just then, Elvis calls Leo to the cabin because he's discovered a passageway. Cautious, Leo objects to entering it, instead preferring to leave the job to Einar. However, despite Leo's discouragement, Elvis's curiosity takes over, and he enters after finding a set of stairs inside. Using his flashlight, he looks around and sees a wooden door. Leo turns the light on while Elvis leans against the door, listening in. He asks Leo to enter with him, but even though Leo still doesn't want him to, Elvis barges inside. Forcing the door open, Elvis steps into a dark room with expired canned goods and jars containing unknown fluids. He inspects the room and realizes that someone lived down there. Leo enters and turns on the light, warning Elvis to not touch anything, but he's already got his hands on an encyclopedia. Leo calls their headquarters while Elvis spots another entryway deeper into the room. Despite Leo's warnings to stay, Elvis steps inside and finds anatomical illustrations. Leo tells Elvis they should leave, but when he turns on the lights, he finds pages plastered on the walls. A soft motor hum resounds inside, and the cassette player makes clicking noises. Then, the phone's ringtone suddenly jolts Elvis. As Leo takes the call, he again warns Elvis to leave the room and not touch anything. Against his better judgment, Elvis clicks random buttons on the player and eventually hears static. He rewinds the tape more, inspecting the room around him. When the recording plays, Elvis hears the shaky voice of a man asking someone to calm down. Elvis listens closely, a mistake as the recorded roar startles him, and he knocks items off the table in the process. Then, the nearby tub slightly moves. Elvis cautiously backs away just as Leo informs him from the outside that their colleagues are coming. Not hearing him, Leo asks Elvis to repeat what he said, and Elvis replies that it's good. A woman, Tale, suddenly lurches from the water, removing the tube from her throat. This scares Elvis, and he just stands frozen while Tale slumps against the tub. Leo enters the room and looks disapprovingly at Elvis. While Leo searches the cabin, Elvis asks if they should bring the woman to the hospital as she's shivering. However, Leo reassures him that professionals are coming. Wanting something to do, Elvis inspects some tubes and mutters about Tala being possibly experimented on, but this just annoys Leo. Taking pity on Tale, Elvis asks if Leo has found something to keep her warm, but when Leo enters the room, Tale is already strangling Elvis. Leo attempts to reason with her by introducing themselves. Holding up the jacket he found, Leo bargains with her and tosses it to her side. Tale lets go just as Elvis almost loses consciousness. She grabs the jacket and holds it close while Elvis hurries outside. As the men leave her alone in the room, she begins roaming inside it. Elvis continues holding his throat while Leo watches Tale. She comes to the doorway, wary of Leo, and suddenly whisks away an expired can of food. Finding her hungry, Leo leaves for some water and bread, but Elvis panics about being left alone with her. However, Leo just looks at him straight. Elvis returns to where Tala is and eyes her cautiously, but she's preoccupied with opening the can and eating. On the table, he finds cassette tapes titled Tale. Upon hearing her name, Tale looks at him. Elvis plays the tape and it catches the woman's attention. She steps closer to the player, whimpering and clutching it until the tape pops back out. Elvis takes the tape and plays it again, all while looking at Tale, who backs away in surprise. Meanwhile, Leo returns to his car, takes some pills and makes a call. Then he notices movements around him. Elvis continues playing tapes while Tala sits attentively. The man in the tape comments how she grew up differently from her sisters, probably because he found her so early. Tala gets up and leaves without Elvis noticing. When Elvis realizes she's gone, he searches for her until he hears a low hum, and that's when Elvis notices an entryway leading to a cozy room. When he sits on the couch, Tala stops humming and looks at him from below before resuming her hums. Elvis notices the horseshoe on the wall and asks if it's hers. Before he's done speaking, Tala snatches it from him. Amused, Elvis lies beside her and tries humming along until the two of them hum together. He wonders if he can borrow the hum for Alina. When he asks how long Tala has stayed there, she cups his face. Suddenly, her memories flash into his mind. There she was, a little girl playing in the tub and being cared for by an older man. When she was older, she stepped into the woods, enchanted by an echoing wail. But the old man dragged her back underground and removed something from her. He commented that the others were calling her, but to ensure she'd never be found, he placed her underwater. Overwhelmed by the images, Elvis leaves. Leo goes into the woods. While taking a call about Einar being delayed, he hears twigs cracking. Unbeknownst to him, something is lurking out there. While Elvis is playing decades-old tapes, Tala curiously checks out a mask. Elvis listens to the man recounting about removing something from Tala and sealing it so no one could track it. At this, Elvis looks warily at the small fridge, and after opening it, he suddenly throws up. Leo returns with bread and water. Elvis leads him to the fridge, but when he sees what's inside of it, he's nonchalant. They shut the fridge behind, resealing the severed tail inside it. While Tala calmly munches on bread, Elvis goes out to relieve himself. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that a creature is watching him from behind the bushes. Leo complains about Elvis getting the window wet, but he suddenly feels a gagging sensation. Although Elvis keeps talking, Leo hunches over as he feels he's about to throw up. Feeling better, Leo notices Tala looking at his chest intently. She places her hand over his chest and tries touching his face. Surprised, Leo steps back just as Elvis returns. Outside, the creature moves closer to the cabin. Elvis hands Tala coffee and he and Leo just watch together. Elvis's phone rings twice, but he's unwilling to take it. Again, he looks at the fridge warily before sitting next to Leo. The two men discuss whether the tail belongs to Tala, but Leo shuts him down. Eventually, Elvis begins complaining about Einar's delays and worrying about Tala's ravenousness. Leo asks him how old she is, and Elvis guesses she's an adult. However, Elvis soon realizes that Leo is talking about Alina, so he says she'll be 5 in November, and his friend points out that he's become a father. In the silence, Leo confides he's terminally ill, and Elvis, not appreciating how Leo just dropped the news, snatches his bread in frustration. He takes a jab at Leo about his illness, and Leo, not missing a beat, jabs back about Elvis's illegitimate child. Amused at this, Leo comments it's nice catching up. Suddenly, Tala is roused from her calmness and approaches the window, staring intently. She follows it around, causing Elvis to wonder if Einar has arrived. When someone runs outside, Tala gets so scared that she chains the door. While she backs away, Leo approaches the door and hears slow footsteps. He shushes Elvis as he listens to the footsteps that escalates into thumps. Leo, still glued to the door, calls out hello, but something pounds on the door so hard that he gets knocked back. Elvis drags Leo back inside and closes the inner door, but Leo doubles over and retches, coughing up blood. To protect them, Elvis tries pulling something to barricade the inner door but fails, so he and Leo just use their body weights. Tala whimpers in fear. Elvis does his best to keep the inner door closed, but the pounding continues. Suddenly, they smell a whiff of gas. Beside Elvis, Leo passes out. Elvis checks on him when he notices the gas seeping through the keyhole. He then starts getting weak and feels like he's losing consciousness, but he manages to crawl closer to Tala, touching her foot. In the process, Elvis gets sucked into her memories. In a flashback, a young Tala screamed in bed while she continued experiencing medical experiments. The old man who kept her underground took her to a wintry forest. He recounted how he almost lost her not to the cold but to other holders. There, Tala had wandered deep into the woods, enchanted by the wails of her kind. until a goat-like creature appeared before her. However, the old man kept her separate and hid her underground so no holder may find her. Elvis slips back to reality, and just before losing consciousness, he sees armed men inside the room. When Tala was young, the old man lamented how she thought he was a good person even though he admitted he wasn't. At the same time, the old man couldn't kill Tala. Instead, he'd chosen to torment her underground. He recounted how Tala understood early on that she was different from humans and that there were things she could do that humans couldn't, such as reinvigorating dead plants. In a way, Tala's thriving in captivity made the old man happy and sorrowful, especially when they both knew she wasn't meant to live down there. Her life was in the woods, just like her fellow tailed sisters. But he admitted that if it weren't for him, Tala would have lived. When Elvis regains consciousness, his head is covered with a black cloth, and he's bound to a chair in the forest. Armed men patrol the area around him. The leader, Vitkled, informs him that the gas has dried his mouth and he can offer Elvis something to drink. Elvis asks who he is, and Vitkled responds he's working for someone looking for a certain girl. Vitkled asks if Elvis has met Tala, but he doesn't respond. He continues knowing they agree that Tala isn't human. Vitkled recounts how humans banded together to survive, but those who broke away evolved and had different characteristics, such as the Holders. These so-called deviants lived in the wilderness and adapted there, developing a metabolism that emits unique thermal energy stronger than humans. Because Holders' energies are individualized like a fingerprint, Vitkled knows it's Tala whom they detected. The armed men searching the cabin for Tala only get incessant beeping from their device, indicating that she's just nearby. Through their search, they soon discover her severed tail, but they can't find Tala. Knowing Elvis has some idea where Tala is hiding, Vitkled threatens him and spikes his drink as he plans to coerce him to confess. Vitkled feigns sympathy with Elvis, saying he knows it might be difficult to speak up because Holders can elicit empathy and rally people to protect them. Back in the cabin, Tala has hidden in the tub. She rises from the water slowly, taking off her mask and leering at the gunman sitting with his back turned to her. She quickly snatches the unsuspecting gunman by the back and breaks his neck over the tub. Another gunman notices her and begins shooting his rifle. A call arrives for Vitkled, supposedly to inform him of Tala's severed tail. But the sound of gunfire alerts him and he commands those patrolling the forest to serve as backup. Tala slips away as the rest of the armed men inside notice that the one who fired his rifle has been impaled by it. When one of the gunmen turns, he finds Tala behind him. She smacks him with a horseshoe and mortally wounds him with it. His companion notices, but Tala takes her horseshoe and digs it into his skull. When the backups arrive, they find everyone inside dead. Gas is left hissing and Tala is nowhere to be seen. In the forest, Vitkled cocks his gun and aims it at Leo, whose head is also covered with a black cloth and is bound to a chair. But before he can shoot, the cabin explodes. He tries calling his men, but the call won't connect. Around him, wails echo through the woods as shadowy figures run across the trees. He readies his gun and scans the area. Thinking it's Tala, Vitkled threatens her by aiming the gun at Elvis, who's cowering in fear. Suddenly, the Holders appear from the trees and launch quickly at Vitkled. Overpowered, he dies in their hands. After killing Vitkled, the creatures snarl at Elvis and Leo, but they leave them unharmed. Now that everything is over, Elvis calls out to Leo. Something approaches Leo, and through the mesh cloth, he sees Tala in front of him. When all has been said and done, Elvis and Leo sit in silence at the police station. An officer types the report, attributing everything that happened at the cabin to a creature called Holder. After the ordeal, Leo approaches Elvis in the park and sits beside him. He asks Leo how his medical checkup went, but Leo vaguely responds that he's not going to die very soon. Thinking he's unwilling to share it, Elvis just nods in acknowledgement, but Leo reveals he suddenly isn't sick anymore. Elvis asks if he's not happy, and Leo smiles while fighting back tears. He then invites Elvis to help him clean up a dead old lady the next day, and despite Elvis's aversion to it, he laughs and agrees. Afterward, Leo hands him a wad of cash as advance payment, but it's not for him. Rather, it's for his daughter, Alina. Leo walks away and Elvis looks at his daughter, smiling from a bench. He finally silently acknowledges her. Meanwhile, Tala awakens in a field with no clothes on and soon finds other Holders running into the woods. The old man, before passing away, remembered thinking about how some people were lucky to find someone to grow up with, protect, live for, and die for. He also wished that one day, Tala would be as fortunate as he'd been, thanking the girl and apologizing to her. Basked under the sun, Tala smiles and runs into the woods as well.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.